First of all, you're ruining your own reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, you're betraying your profession, your professional oath. Thirdly, you are betraying your country because you're doing harm to your country, because you're creating the impression that this administration cannot be fought for all of the illegalities that we've been talking about.
Right.
This is an administration that is punishing people because the president is a convicted felon and is angry that he was almost brought to justice, and he wants to inflict harm on the government, and also his people he wants to inflict harm on our legal system, and he also wants to deter people from fighting back to all the illegal things he's doing.
Something happened on live television that could haunt Donald Trump for the rest of his life. This wasn't a rally slip, a courtroom blunder, or another late-night tweet storm. It was a systematic dismantling of the Trump myth, broadcast in real time. The man delivering the blow wasn't a prosecutor, a political rival, or even a journalist. It was George Conway, a figure Trump can't easily dismiss. Calm, composed, and unnervingly precise. Conway took aim at Trump's political failures, spiraling legal disasters, and then, without warning, ripped into the illusion of his marriage. It didn't sound like speculation. It sounded like evidence. For the first time, Trump looked like the one on trial.
And when you capitulate to him, you are encouraging them to send more people to El Salvador, including potentially American citizens, because they want to create a system where everybody's too afraid to provide legal services to fight against the illegality. And one more thing here is, they're doing this because of money.
Yeah.
Money, and here's what's going on with this. The firms that are capitulating, and I know this because I spent 30 years practicing at a law firm that did mergers and acquisitions work, okay? And it's a very lucrative form of work, and you get paid only if the deals go through. Mm-hmm. And you get paid a significant amount, a percentage of the deal. It's lucrative business, and it's fine business in ordinary times. And they're afraid that the government won't approve the deals of their clients. Well, sorry, guys, you're destroying your reputation in an environment where there aren't going to be any deals because the president is destroying the economy and the U.S. dollar. So you are doubly foolish.
Conway didn't just throw insults. He delivered a calculated strike aimed at Trump's greatest vulnerabilities: control, image, and loyalty. He painted a portrait of a man not just losing political battles, but losing touch with reality. Then came the bombshell. Melania's silence isn't loyalty, it's leverage. Every cold glance, public absence, and carefully timed reappearance, Conway argued, is deliberate, a survival strategy. And if he's right, the former First Lady could be holding evidence capable of destroying Trump more effectively than any prosecutor ever could. The only question, when will she use it?
One of the things that is sort of interesting about the Trump people is they're not loyal to each other, and not even to Trump in some ways. I don't mean the Trump voters, but I mean the people around him. They are all as self-interested as him. They are all trying to make money by acting as gatekeepers to Trump.
I guess they don't like me, but let me just tell you, these are losers from day one. Guys like Bill Kristol, he's 0-32. George Conway, you take a look at him. Just take a look at that guy. The man's a stone-cold loser. So they should not call it the Lincoln Project. It's not fair to Abraham Lincoln, a great president. They should call it the Losers Project. Okay, thanks.
This wasn't gossip. It was a political autopsy. Conway examined Trump's behavior like a crime scene investigator, revealing patterns so disturbing that even veteran commentators were left speechless. Melania, he said, has perfected the art of being close enough to witness everything, yet distant enough to avoid the fallout. She's been documenting implosions, personal, legal, and political, not to protect Trump, but to protect herself. Her strategic disappearances during scandals, refusal to defend him in certain crises, and body language in public all tell the same story, one that, if revealed, could mark the end of Trump's carefully curated empire.
Donald Trump has never, ever been right in the head.
The late, great Hannibal Lecter.
He's a wonderful man.
An enormous, really an enormous.
We got up! And then they announced there was no buys, no.
And this president doesn't have good faith disagreement and these orders. He does not care. He is a lawless criminal. And we have basically a criminal regime. And if you believe that they are going to are going to abide by court orders, they're not going to do it. They're already probably trying to slide around the court orders.
Conway linked Trump's chaotic leadership style to his personal relationships, both powered by transactional loyalty. He demands it, but he doesn't give it, Conway said, staring into the camera. Trump's tendency to turn on allies once they're no longer useful, Conway argued, may have taught Melania the most important lesson of all. Prepare for the day when turning on him becomes necessary. If that day comes, the fallout won't just be personal, it will be historic.
They don't want to obey laws, they don't want to obey rules, they don't think they apply to them. And Donald Trump has no moral conscience and no empathy. He does not care about anybody else other than Donald Trump, which is why in his first term he said, Article 2 lets me do whatever I want, Article 2 of the Constitution. The first Trump term, which I call Shit Show 1, was an assault on the rule of law, but it was only like it was like cancer. It was like a stage 1, maybe stage 2. We got to stage 2 right around January 6th. And he was a threat to the rule of law. And then he went into remission.
The part that made anchors lean forward was Conway's suggestion that Melania may already be preparing her exit. Not emotionally, but politically. She's been present for Trump's worst moments. Rage-filled tirades, whispered threats, phone calls no one should hear. She knows where the skeletons are buried because she's been there when they were hidden. And if she's keeping records, Trump isn't just battling prosecutors or the press. He's battling the one person who could destroy him with a single interview. Conway hinted that Trump fears her silence more than her words.
Stage 3 is basically where we are ignoring laws and running roughshod over laws. I mean, they're basically refusing to spend money appropriated by Congress, which is against the law. The law requires the president to spend money. The president can't not spend the money that's been allocated for particular subjects. And you've got this guy who's not been appointed lawfully under the Constitution.
Let's talk about that.
Musk. Yep. And so that's stage 3. Stage 4 is going to be, well, these courts are telling me not to obey orders. Why should I? I don't want to obey the law, so why am I obeying the courts? And stage 4 is metastasis. Stage 4 is when democracy can die, and the rule of law can die, and constitutionalism can die. And we unless something happens radically, I can't see how we don't get to stage 4, because the logical path that they are taking, which is that the law doesn't apply to us, and nobody can enforce the law against us.
Conway made the audience feel that fear. He described Trump as a man who thrives on dominance but crumbles when control slips away. And right now, Trump is losing control everywhere. His party is fracturing, legal cases are piling up, and his public image is collapsing. But the most dangerous fracture is in his own home. Melania has seen everything, every threat, every bribe, every meltdown. If that information ever escapes Trump Tower, it could end not just a marriage, but an entire political movement.
You don't want to diagnose him, but I think if you look at the diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder, he fits every single one of them. It's like the criteria were made to describe him. And I think what we saw with this tweet yesterday is that last final collapse of Donald Trump's mental state. I mean, you think about it, those were like 50, 60, 70,000 people in the aggregate in five rallies in different states. That's loopier than saying that the moon landings were staged, because there were tens of thousands of people were there. To think that is crazy, and to try to sell it to people is just as crazy. He's done. His brain is fried.
With surgical precision, Conway turned to Trump's mental state, a topic most opponents avoid. He called it what it is: unstable, erratic, dangerous. Trump's recent public statements, Conway said, sound like the ramblings of someone untethered from reality. Melania knows this better than anyone, and her calculated distance is as much about protecting herself as positioning for the future. The way Conway framed it, Trump's decline is a matter of public safety, and if Melania pulls back the curtain, no amount of spin will save him.
After Donald Trump won in 2016, your name was floated as someone who might work in his administration. You turned that down, and
I was offered the job of head of the Civil Division of the Department of Justice, and I filled out all the forms. They ran my background check, and I was interviewing people who were going to work underneath me. I was sort of far along there, and then I just started having this queasy feeling like I don't really want to work in this administration, because what I saw was a shit show and a dumpster fire. And I just got to the point where I just couldn't do it. And so I didn't. And I was one of the best decisions I'd ever made. Okay, I admit I was wrong to support Donald Trump in 2016. I was horribly wrong. It was a horrible exercise in judgment. I knew better. I should have known better.
By now, social media was in overdrive. Was Melania gathering evidence? Could she be the secret witness no one saw coming? Conway didn't confirm, but he didn't have to. The possibility alone sent Trump allies scrambling. He's not afraid of prosecutors, Conway said. He's afraid of her. That single line hit like a thunderclap, because if Trump's greatest vulnerability is Melania, then the danger is already inside his walls.
Tara Schreckman wants to know from you, George, do you expect Trump to target you and other staff of the Lincoln Project? And if so, do you have a defense plan?
I don't have a defense plan other than whatever he pulls up is going to be meritless. My finances are simple. It won't, I don't fear him. And I think one of the things that that people don't quite understand about Trump, but they really should, is the fact that he's a bully and he wants to pick on people who won't fight back.
Conway ended with a warning that felt more like prophecy. Trump's downfall, he said, won't come from a trial or an election. It will come from a betrayal he never saw coming. When it happens, it will strip away not only his power, but his identity. The strong man act only works when people believe it, Conway said. Once the people closest to him stop believing, the whole thing collapses. Across the country, the silence was heavy. If Conway is right, Trump's most dangerous enemy is smiling in photographs right next to him.
He's a sociopath, and one of the things about sociopath is that they don't plan, they don't think, they just emote, and they're impulsive, and they act on their whims and impulses, and the last person who talked to them. And that's why and then also they have the power, they love the power, the feeling of power that they get when they say, I'm turning this on, I'm turning this off, I'm turning the lights out, I'm turning the lights on, I'm raising tariffs, I'm lowering tariffs, I'm telling everybody in Tehran, 10 million people to evacuate, I'm telling them they're safe for now. Okay? He gets off on that, and then he gets bored with what he said yesterday. And of course, he doesn't necessarily remember what he says or care what he says yesterday. So tomorrow's going to be something else.
Now, the cracks in Trump's empire are no longer hairline. They're splitting wide open. Investigations are roaring forward with subpoenas and evidence. Former allies are flipping one after another. Financial fraud, hush money payments, classified documents. The scandals are stacking into a mountain even his golden elevator can't climb. He can scream witch hunt until his voice breaks, but the facts don't care. The closer prosecutors get, the more desperate and dangerous he becomes.
This is Donald Trump leading the Republican Party off the cliff. This is a man for whom there is no bottom, and Republicans are just afraid to call him out. He's saying we're in the middle of this war where Putin, who can't be trusted for a moment, who murders political opponents, who slaughters women and children, and Donald Trump is focused on what? Himself? Because he wants to get revenge for losing the 2020 election. He says, okay, let's see their dirt on Hunter Biden. I wonder someday that maybe we won't have a president in Russia who actually acts in the best interest of the Russian people and behaves himself before the world. Maybe President Navalny. I mean, pray to God that somehow that could happen. And maybe we'll see the files on Donald Trump. I think those would be interesting.
Trump's once loyal army is shrinking. Donors who once lined up to pledge allegiance are stepping back, afraid of torching their own reputations. GOP strategists whisper that he's toxic, uncontrollable, a guaranteed loss. Even Fox News is cutting away from his speeches when they spiral into incoherent rants. Without the echo chamber, his grip on the base weakens. For the first time in years, the strongman image is fading, and what's left is a man terrified of losing everything.
Absolutely. I do think that. I think it was most propitious timing. I think this needed to be done no matter who the Democratic nominee was, for the simple reason that Donald Trump has been getting basically this easy pass double standard on his behavior, because we've seen so much of it and it's basically been normalized, even though it's completely bizarre. We almost kind of don't bat an eyelash at him talking about sharks and electrocution and Hannibal Lecter. I mean, he's been doing crazy stuff like that for years. So he has this weird advantage. And that's part of the advantage. The other part of the advantage is that people are afraid to talk about mental health issues of any sort, lest they give offense or they don't want to stigmatize people. But I mean, this is just so different. I mean, this is the man, this is the question of the mental stability of somebody who would have control of the second largest nuclear arsenal on the planet. I mean, this is just, you just can't look at it the same way.
Behind the scenes, Republicans face a nightmare choice: cling to a sinking ship or cut him loose and risk his wrath. The midterms were a warning. Trump-backed candidates flopped, and the red wave fizzled. As long as Trump dominates the conversation, independents are out of reach. But breaking from him could split the party in two. It's a political hostage crisis, and Trump is holding the detonator.
He can't help himself but emotionally react to things. But one of the things that he's a narcissistic sociopath. That's the thing everyone has to kind of get used to. It's the reason why you cannot normalize him. You cannot treat him like a normal human being, because he's not. He is unwell. And that's why he can't follow. He's not going to be able to follow his lawyer's directions. That's why, he played right into the plaintiff's hands in the E. Jean Carroll case. They're trying to show basically he's a jerk. And what does he do? He acts like a jerk right in front of the jury. He shows disrespect for the jury. And, the fact of the matter is he's saying, none of this ever happened. Well, okay, where's your testimony?
The myth of Trump as the inevitable kingmaker is collapsing. Polls that once seemed untouchable are swinging. Legal bills are draining his war chest faster than donations arrive. The chaos that once energized his base is now exhausting them. Even rallies are shrinking, with empty seats glaring under the spotlight. Momentum is everything in politics, and Trump's is rolling backward. This isn't a stumble. It's the beginning of the end.
The other thing that he did was to show that this is his modus operandi. He intends to. He's willing to use the threat of violence or to incite violence in order to coerce government officials to either forego enforcing the law against him or to, violate the law, as he sought to have Pence and members of Congress do on January 6th.
When the end comes, it will be quiet. It will be spectacular. The man who branded himself as America's savior will be remembered as its cautionary tale. History will dissect his collapse for decades as proof that arrogance, lies, and unchecked power always self-destruct. The courts will have their say. The voters will have theirs. And when the dust settles, Trump will remain not as the symbol of a movement, but as the wreckage of one. This is more than politics. This is accountability, and it's the one enemy he can't outrun.